The Dutch Girls Who Vanished in Panama, 2014. A hike into paradise ended in one of the most chilling travel mysteries of the decade. In late March 2014, Lisanne Froon, 22, and Chris Kremers, 21, two bright Dutch students, landed in the mountain town of Boquete, Panama. Their plan was simple: volunteer at a local school, enjoy the stunning nature, and immerse themselves in a new culture. Both were adventurous, intelligent, and eager to explore. On April 1st, after a few days in the town, the girls decided to hike the Pianista Trail, a popular yet challenging route that cuts through cloud forest and mountainous terrain. They told their host family they'd be back by evening. They took a small backpack with essentials: Lisanne's camera, 2 phones, a water bottle, a few snacks, and their passports. They never returned. The search at first, locals assumed they had gotten lost and would return. But when they missed their volunteering commitment the next day, panic set in. Police, volunteers, helicopters, and even sniffer dogs joined the search. The rugged jungle terrain was unforgiving. Steep cliffs, rivers, and dense foliage made it nearly impossible to navigate. Weeks passed with no sign. Then, on June 14th, a breakthrough. A local Ngebe woman found a blue backpack on a rock near a riverbank, far from the trail. Oddly, the backpack was bone dry and perfectly arranged, despite Panama's constant rains. Inside were the girls' belongings: both phones, Lisanne's camera, sunglasses, $83 in cash, 2 bras, and their passports. The Creepy Clues phone data showed the girls had made over 77 emergency call attempts, starting just hours after the hike began. The first was placed on April 1st at 4:39 p.m. None connected due to poor reception. For 10 straight days, the phones were turned on and off deliberately to save battery. Eventually, only Lisanne's iPhone worked, but it was locked with the wrong pin, suggesting Chris may have already been incapacitated. Then came the camera photos, over 100 of them. The early images showed happy trail photos. But a week later, 90 photos were taken during one night, between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m., showing rocks, jungle, and strange close-ups. In one, a piece of plastic is placed on a rock. Another shows what may be Chris's hair and blood. Then, soon after, authorities found scattered human remains in the area. A boot with a foot inside, confirmed to be Chris's, was found near the river. A pelvic bone, later DNA identified as Lisanne's, was discovered miles away. Strangely, some bones appeared bleached and broken cleanly, inconsistent with the natural decomposition. Some believe it indicates tampering or foul play. Authorities concluded it was a tragic accident. The girls likely fell or got swept away by a river. But questions remained. Why was the backpack dry and neatly placed? Why take 90 photos in the dark? Who had Chris's phone days after her likely death? Why were the bones found so far apart? To this day, no one knows exactly what happened in that jungle. Story 3. The Grand Canyon Fugitive Who Faked His Death, 2021. A vast canyon, an abandoned car, and a man who vanished into thin air. Or so it seemed. In July 2021, a 38-year-old man named Ryan Kelly was facing a future behind bars. The Indiana native was under federal investigation for a large-scale identity theft and financial fraud scheme that had stolen millions of dollars. With overwhelming evidence against him, conviction seemed inevitable. But instead of showing up for court, Ryan told friends and family he was taking a solo road trip to clear his head before his trial. His destination: Grand Canyon National Park. A few days later, his car was found abandoned near a remote cliff edge in the park. Inside were his belongings, a wallet, a few clothes, and even a suicide note. Most shockingly, his dog was found alive in the car, tired, dehydrated, but unharmed. Search and rescue teams scoured the area. Drones flew overhead, K9 units sniffed the rugged terrain, and divers searched the Colorado River. But there was no sign of a body, just that eerie emptiness the Grand Canyon is known for. Many assumed Ryan had taken his own life by jumping into the vast canyon. But some investigators weren't convinced. Why leave behind a dog he clearly cared for? Why no camera footage or blood at the cliff? And why did financial records show he had emptied several bank accounts just days before vanishing? The FBI quietly kept digging. Surveillance footage surfaced showing a man resembling Ryan in a camping store in Arizona, buying survival gear, prepaid phones, and even fake IDs. Weeks passed. Then, nearly 2 months after his supposed death, a tip came from a motel in Florida. A man had checked in using cash, no ID, and acted strangely. When police reviewed security footage, they recognized him instantly. Ryan Kelly, alive and hiding under a fake name, his hair dyed and features altered. He had faked his death at the Grand Canyon in an elaborate scheme to disappear, hoping to avoid justice. His plan was to eventually flee the country. Instead, he was arrested and charged not just for the original fraud, but also for obstruction of justice and faking his death. In 2022, he was sentenced to over 20 years in federal prison. What began as a tragic disappearance in one of the world's most breathtaking natural wonders turned out to be a mastermind escape plot and a reminder that sometimes the most dangerous criminals don't run. They vanish. And sometimes, even the deepest canyon can't bury the truth forever. The disappearance of Natalie Holloway, Aruba, 2005. A tropical celebration turned into one of the most haunting missing persons cases in modern history. In May 2005, 18-year-old Natalie Holloway, a bright student from Alabama, went on a high school graduation trip to Aruba with over 100 classmates. It was supposed to be the perfect vacation: sunshine, freedom, and celebration. On the night of May 29th, Natalie and her friends partied at a popular club called Carlos and Charlie's. Just before closing time, she was seen leaving with Joran van der Sloot, a charming 17-year-old local, and his friends Deepak and Satish Kalpo. She never returned to her hotel. A vanishing in paradise. The next morning, panic spread. Natalie had vanished without a trace. Her passport and packed suitcase was still in her hotel room. Her mother, Beth Holloway, flew to Aruba immediately and led the search herself. Police quickly questioned Joran and the Kalpo brothers. At first, they claimed they dropped Natalie at her hotel. Later, their stories changed. Despite massive search efforts, including help from the FBI, no body or physical evidence was ever found. Stranger still, Natalie's phone and belongings were never recovered. There were no signs of a struggle and no clear witnesses after she left the club. Lies, theories, and media frenzy. Joanne's stories changed again and again, each one less believable. The case became an international media circus. Search teams scoured beaches, caves, and the ocean, but leads ran cold. Years passed and hope faded. Then in 2010, a shocking twist. Joran van der Sloot murdered another young woman, Stephanie Flores, in Peru. He was caught, confessed, and sentenced to 28 years in prison. Even behind bars, he remained manipulative, extorting money from Natalie's family in exchange for false information about her body. A chilling confession. In 2023, Joran finally confessed. He claimed Natalie rejected his advances, so he attacked her, striking her with a cinder block, and dumped her body in the sea. His story matched earlier clues, but her remains were never found. Still no closure. Though she was legally declared dead in 2012, Natalie's family never gave up. The confession gave them a small measure of peace, but no real closure. The disappearance of Natalie Holloway remains one of the most haunting and heartbreaking mysteries in vacation history. A story of innocence lost, justice delayed, and a paradise that turned dark overnight.